Thank you, Fontafaro and Freedom at Eastern, for inviting me to speak to you tonight. If you don't mind, I'd like to do some myth busting with you all tonight. This is for the folks in the crowd with my complexion and the folks in the crowd around the country. And what really is a deficiency in melanin, let's just be real for a moment. White America has been taught some pretty messed up lies about our world, and protect these lies harder than they do other human beings. For example, white America has been raised to believe, A, that the police are always the good guys. We can call them anytime we don't feel safe. And B, that frankly, Black lives matter less than white comfort. And until we deal with that concept, nothing is going to change. This changes by actually putting value to human life, like you claim you do when you say all lives matter. Because the fact of the matter is, all lives clearly don't matter when you let 1 in 6 kids go to bed hungry in the wealthiest nation in the world. All lives clearly don't matter when it takes Kim Kardashian to say something before Cyntoia Brown gets released. All lives clearly don't matter when you continue to let our brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico suffer under colonial rule. All lives clearly don't matter when white boys can massacre schools with military-grade weapons and are then taken alive without a scratch. But you turn your head when an innocent black man is killed by police in his grandmother's backyard for holding a cell phone. All lives clearly don't matter when you take rosaries from refugees at our southern border, like when the Nazis took wedding rings in concentration camps like Auschwitz. All lives clearly don't matter when you separate children from their families and lock them in cages, and then ask them to represent themselves at age 3 or 4. But in some states, unborn children are given an attorney in court. All lives clearly don't matter when you care more about that thin blue line rather than the gaping wounds in indigenous people in their hearts for 500 years. All lives clearly don't matter when you push the death penalty in a newspaper column on 5 innocent black boys and then become the President of the United States in 2016. I'm not suggesting that any one of us is solely responsible for anything that has happened before we were born, but history lives on and is a huge part in all of us now, and whether we like it or not, we are responsible for the present. I'm not saying that we need to take on the white man's burden or a white savior complex. This simply means that we prioritize black and brown voices in the conversation. It means not only recognizing privilege, but also being willing to lose it. We need to understand that the system isn't broken. It was purposely built this way to keep every single one of us sick, poor, and without the knowledge to speak out. Truthfully, it is the wealthy, whitewashed, top 1% of the US population that would panic if the system was to ever be dismantled. What we need to do now is stop looking at the arguments that are occurring side to side and begin looking at them from up and down. The enemy is not the beautiful and benevolent faces in this room. The real enemy is the one trying to convince you otherwise. Thank you.